While millions of people are out there grinding, hustling, optimizing their life, and posting motivational quotes that conveniently skip the part where they're falling apart inside, there's a massive group of people who feel frozen, not lazy, not unmotivated, just stuck. And according to neuroscience, their brains are doing something very specific and very misunderstood. Stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you will completely change how you see your procrastination, your lack of momentum, and that something is wrong with me feeling you've been carrying around for years. Because here's the thing nobody talks about. Feeling stuck doesn't mean you're failing. It doesn't mean you don't care. And it definitely doesn't mean you're incapable of changing. But there is something fascinating happening in your brain that works totally differently from the people who seem to just do things effortlessly. Let's start with the obvious question. Why do so many people struggle to move forward? Humans have three core survival responses: fight, flight, and the one almost nobody understands: freeze. Freeze is not fear. It's not laziness. It's not weakness. Freeze is what your brain does when it senses you're overloaded, mentally, emotionally, or physically. It's your mind saying, "Hold on, stop everything. We don't know what's safe yet." When animals freeze, they literally become motionless. Humans don't collapse to the ground, but we collapse internally. Freeze looks like staring at your to-do list doing absolutely nothing, scrolling when you know you need to move, wanting to change but feeling mysteriously paralyzed, a foggy brain, low energy, "I'll start later," on loop. Your brain isn't malfunctioning, it's protecting you. And here's where it gets interesting. People who struggle with feeling stuck often have what psychologists call heightened threat sensitivity, not to danger, to uncertainty. Why big goals trigger paralysis? Think about how you talk to yourself. I need to fix everything. I need a total reset. I need to get my life together right now. Sounds motivating, right? Except your brain hears something totally different. Massive unknown incoming. We can't predict the outcome. Danger. And uncertainty is one of the strongest triggers for the freeze response. It's the same biological mechanism that stops you from walking into a dark cave. Big goals feel like a dark cave. You don't know what's inside. You don't know what could go wrong. You don't know if you're capable. So your brain decides, we're not moving. Not because you don't want it, but because your nervous system thinks movement equals threat. Your brain is not lazy, it's overloaded. And here's where things get even stranger. There's actually research showing that people who feel stuck often have more ideas, more self-awareness, and more mental activity than people who don't. Translation: your brain isn't underperforming, it's overheating. A study from the University of Toronto found that people with high introspection struggle more with executive action. They see too many possibilities, too many risks, too many outcomes, and the brain becomes overwhelmed. It's not that you can't move forward, it's that your brain is trying to protect you from making the wrong move. You're running a supercomputer on emotional dial-up. The dopamine problem nobody talks about. You know how sports fans get dopamine spikes from every play? Well, here's the opposite problem. People who feel stuck often fail to get dopamine from future rewards, meaning big goals don't feel rewarding yet. Not because you don't care, but because your brain doesn't release dopamine until there's certainty. Goals equals uncertainty. Uncertainty equals threat. Threat equals freeze. Freeze equals no dopamine. No dopamine equals no motivation. You're not lacking discipline. You're lacking neurochemical anticipation. Your brain doesn't get excited about, in 6 months my life might be better. It only gets excited when it knows exactly what will happen next, which explains something huge. Why tiny tasks feel easier than big plans. When you're stuck, you can wash one dish, but not clean the kitchen. You can answer one text, but not deal with your inbox. You can write one sentence, but not finish the project. This is not inconsistency. This is neuroscience. Small tasks have clear expectations, low emotional risk, instant feedback, predictable outcomes. And predictable outcomes equals dopamine. This is why micro-movement works. It hacks your brain's reward system by giving it exactly what it needs: certainty. Why you sabotage yourself without meaning to. There's also a psychological layer called identity threat. If succeeding at something would require you to become someone new, break old patterns, risk embarrassment, risk failure, be seen, step into responsibility, your brain might decide, yeah, no thanks. And freeze becomes a self-protective wall between you and the unknown. Not because you lack ambition, but because deep down, your identity isn't sure it can survive the upgrade. Humans don't fear change. We fear what change requires us to confront. Genetics? Yep, that too. There's also emerging research showing that variations in dopamine receptor genes may influence motivation, reward sensitivity, effort output, avoidance behavior, meaning your difficulty starting things might literally be written into your DNA. Not permanently, not hopelessly, but biologically. And once you understand that, your entire relationship with motivation shifts. You stop beating yourself up, and you start working with your wiring instead of against it. So how do you get unstuck? Here's the part that actually matters. You do not overcome stuckness by trying harder. You do not overcome it with motivation. You do not overcome it by fixing your mindset. You overcome it by lowering the threat level. How? Step 1. Pick one tiny task, not the whole project, just the smallest visible step. Step 2. Do it slowly. Slowness signals safety to your nervous system. Rushing signals danger. Step 3. Stop before you're overwhelmed. Stopping early builds trust with your brain. Step 4. Repeat tomorrow. Consistency teaches your brain, movement is safe, we're okay. This is not a productivity hack. This is neurological conditioning. Every tiny task is proof. You can move. Nothing bad happened. The unknown is survivable. And over time, proof beats fear. The truth you've never been told. You're not stuck because you're broken. You're stuck because your brain has been running survival code in an environment that demands constant change, constant decisions, constant pressure. Your freeze response isn't the enemy, it's a message that says, you are overwhelmed, you need smaller steps, you need gentler expectations, you need safety, not shame. And once you give your brain what it's been begging for, movement returns, energy returns, clarity returns, momentum returns. Not all at once, but enough to change everything. If this hits you differently, subscribe. Because once you understand how your brain actually works, you stop fighting yourself, and you start building a life you can finally move through.